You're talking about using a TheraBand to work on some of these, like the catch and that sort of thing. Is that what you're referring to?
So actually it's kind of a variation of how some people use the bands. These bands are actually attached to a door frame. And I talked to a guy who actually took paddles and connected the paddles to the bands. So I actually put my hands in the paddles and then actually focus on doing the catch. And, really I stretch them far enough to where it's under a huge load. So it's almost like doing real high speed sets with paddles on in a pool, but you can do it at a slower pace under tension and focus on a lot of the technique while you're doing it. So I feel like I was able to build a lot of strength by doing that.
Yeah, that's good. And I think for someone listening, that kind of stuff can help so much, because sometimes it's hard to get this stuff right in the water. And if you can't get it right out of the water, then it's probably not going to happen in the water. So something like working on your catch and developing that strength with the paddles, like it takes you 10 minutes. You can do those exercises at home.
Absolutely, yeah.
You don't need to get your bathers on. You don't need to go to the pool. It's easy to do. So I think that's because if someone was to watch your videos and look at your catch, they wouldn't say you've really been swimming properly since January. It's really good. And I mean, I think it's your right arm that's like the catch is looking excellent, and then on the left arm it goes a little bit deep and straight because we're working on not over rotating, but it's really impressive. So for someone listening, like doing some either TheraBands or with the paddles and practicing that high elbow position is really, really worthwhile doing. And I've got this 5-minute TheraBand warm up. I don't know if you've seen that inside the membership, but it's like a 5-minute warm up that goes through internal, external rotations, reverse flies, and that movement with the catch. And if you get that movement with the catch right out of the water and you start to train it, it's very helpful. And one of the things that I learned from a previous guest on the podcast, he works with people who have been through a stroke, and he says that one of the ways that you can enhance the the uptake of a new motor pattern is to either do things faster, so that like the faster you do something, the more the neurons sort of switch on and allows you to develop that motor pattern, or under a bigger load. And so there you're talking about, you're putting a bit of power through it, so an extra load. So yeah, it's those two things that can help speed up the process of learning this new movement. So it was just interesting to hear you say that.
Sure.
And
I start actually a little bit closer to the door and get the warm up in just to make sure I don't hurt myself, pulling with a lot of tension. And then I'll take a step back and do a little bit more, and then eventually step back until I feel like I'm under a load that, is the way I equate it is in my triathlon training. A lot of times they say lower reps, higher weight, just because you build a lot, better connective tissues and tendons and injury resistance. And so it's kind of working up. Obviously I didn't start by going back as far as I could and pulling as hard as I can on the band. Otherwise I wouldn't have been swimming during the race.
No, that's right.
But just building up to it and eventually getting to where I could put it under a lot of load. So it is interesting to hear you say that, that can help